Welcome everyone to our regular City Council meeting session for Monday, June 1st, 2020 at 5:30 p.m. We're still missing two City Council individuals, so we're going to wait just a few minutes to maybe they got tied up in traffic or something. Meanwhile, while we're waiting on them, the governor talked about Phase 2 today. We will roll out tomorrow on Facebook what the city will do with Phase 2 and what will follow. Some of the things I know that's going to be on there is we're going to increase the restaurants to 50% occupancy. All of our churches will be at 50% occupancy. And there's some other things on there too, but there's quite a few other things on there, but I'm going to let our social media department get those posted out there tomorrow. We appreciate everybody that came out today that has different things on the agenda.
Did the governor say when Phase 2 was going official?
Yes, sir. This Friday.
This Friday.
This Friday. So there's I do know that, and this is just me listening to him, and I didn't bring any notes with me, but a lot of things that have been closed, like tattoo parlors, are going to be able to be opened back up, and I think.
Good. I can get a tattoo. That's great. I thought those were permanently closed. Okay.
But there's some other things that they're going to, pool halls are going to be able to open back up.
Oh.
I'm pretty sure it said bars, but they're going to be, I think it said they're going to be like the pool halls and bars, I think it said it was going to be at a 25% occupancy, but that's not for sure. So, okay, obviously they're not going to show up for our June the 1st meeting, so we're going to kind of talk about some things that are on the agenda. Nothing's going to be voted on or anything like that, so we're just going to visit, and I'm basically going to just remind everybody that we're still trying to appoint an interim council representative for District A. We're still trying to elect a mayor pro tem in case something should happen to me. Chief Cropper, how many months have we been waiting to hire your two police officers?
One of them's been on the agenda since March, and the other one's been on there about 2 or 3 weeks.
Okay, so one's been on there since March and one a couple of weeks. So we're still trying to get that done. We're still trying to get a fire department hired. Ms. Hutto is here with Main Street. We're still trying to get a board member appointed there, and we've been trying to do this for, what about?
3 months.
3 months. 3 months. We have a new dental office and a pharmacy coming to town. We're still trying to get that lot split so the doctors can proceed with their construction there. We only have 2 signatures on the checking account, so if something happens to me, no checks, no bills will be paid. We're trying to adopt a resolution ordering a special election to elect the city council for District A. And this is fairly important, because if we slide through July the what?
No, because the deadline for propositions and specials is June the 17th.
Okay, June the 17th. And if we don't get it approved by then to have the election November the 3rd, this is going to cost the city between $10,000 and $15,000 because we will be on there by ourselves. So it would be good if we could get this approved in our next meeting so we could move this forward. We have our airport rehabilitation runway, and we have our airport manager here, Stephen. Stephen, what's the dollar amount of that rehabilitation?
For the runway and the runway lighting is going to be almost $2.1 million.
All right.
$2.1 million. So we really need to get this FAA grant approved.
And what's the deadline on getting that approved? That has to be returned.
What's on the agenda tonight is just to award the projects to the lowest responsive bidders. But we did just receive the grant in an email form right at 4 o'clock today. So we have until July 1st to get that
Okay.
signed and back to the FAA.
So we did get the grant this afternoon at 4 o'clock, so we have to July the what?
First.
July 1st. And what happens if we don't get that approved?
We don't get that money.
We don't get that money. So, and as everybody knows, airports for a small town are important, because if you don't have an airport, places like Tractor Supply, Walmart,
Catamaran.
Catamaran, Fiber Bond, it's used for med reasons to get people in and out. So we really need to get that approved too. We still have, I don't know, I'm not even going to count how many special council meetings we need to approve, and we've got police reports. With that said, Mr. Cooley, do you have anything that you would like to add about what's going on in your area?
I don't believe, no.
Chief Cropper?
No.
No. Mr. Fleur? Give us some good news.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor, for asking me to come tonight and present a financial report, or at least give you an idea what's going to happen out there in reference to sales tax and how the city is still operating under fair conditions. So let's going to start with the good news first. And I was surprised that you didn't call me today.
I was too speechless.
Well, me too. Last week we talked about the sales tax, and all predictions, when I talked to the Sales Tax Commission and so on, everybody expected about 10% less of the sales tax. With other words, about $50,000. Now, sales tax collected in the months of May for April is higher than a year ago. Higher than a year ago. And if you're going to look, or if I look here, we had $506,000 on sales tax. A year ago, it was $482,000. So the virus, even it had some consequences for some other towns, and for an example, our economic development districts, TIF 1, TIF 2, TIF 3, and TIF 4, sees a 58% decrease. The regular sales tax shows an increase of almost 5% from last year. And I talked today with the Sales Tax Commission administrator. Apparently, the residents of Minden followed our earlier signs, shop in Minden. The retailers provided the sales tax. If you look where it had a negative influence, is the Webster Parish Convention and Visitors Office, 59% decrease. So clearly, traveling was restricted, and therefore the hotel occupancy tax is low. There is no overnights. That's where the difference comes from. So even the school board had hardly any decrease in sales tax. The overall total collected for the parish was this year $2,419,000. And last year, it was $2,425,000. So almost equal, $7,000 difference total for the parish. So I would say that's great news for the city of Minton.
Indeed.
That the residents apparently did their shopping here in Minton. And if I'm going to look for the last 3 months, because we never had any council meetings anymore, in March we collected $449,000. A year ago it was $436, an increase of $13,000. In April, we had seen a decrease, but I don't think it had to do with the virus itself, because what is collected in April is related to the month of March. There we collected $526,000, and a year ago it was $563,000. So that was a decrease of $37,000. But therefore, now this month's 506 and 482 compared a year ago. The overall budgeted amount per month is 514,000. So I would say the city on the sales tax is doing good at the moment. Whatever you hear apparently is not reflecting that bad here in the city of Minden. I also want to give you some information about the cash report. And there, February, March, and even April, we hardly have see any decrease or increase in our money. We are bouncing around 17.7, 17.6, and 17.7 for the last 3 months. So there is not much movement. Even if you really look in the summary report, and I don't know if the missing council members had the chance to look in the summary report, but I assume Mrs. Blocks and Mr. Beard looked at the summary reports. Revenue and expenses are below budgeted amounts.
Because we ain't voted on it.
Specifically, the water and electric fund, we see stark decrease in revenue, but also in the expenses. And we are equal basically between revenue and expenses in the water and electric fund, around 84% of the budgeted amount. Now, all these figures for the summary report will change the next month. We're going to see the next month the corrections coming out of the audit, because the audit is on the accrual basis. So there it does not matter when the money was collected. Therefore, our figures will change. And that means the revenue in the general fund probably will go from 95% down to 87%. Has to do with grant monies, true-up money, and so on. Expenses down to 79% general fund. It's somewhere around between 75 and 80% where we will find this. We will hear from our auditor probably at the next council meeting, if there is a council meeting, because it needs approval from the council, the audit. The reason why we had the delay, usually Ms. Cole presents her report in the May council meeting. We had some issues with the providing figures, correct figures for the pensions, how they gonna will be shown in the audit. The company we hired did not provide the correct figures, so we had to go back and ask for correct figures. However, there was a general delay in all the audits, so our auditors asked us to request extension, and the extension is good till June the 30th. But what I have heard from Mrs. Cole is that she is working on the report. At least we're going to have a draft, and we're going to find out how it looks for the last fiscal year. What also needs to be mentioned is last year we were proud to announce that our CDs, what we had renewed, were drawing good interest. The interest rates were high. Naturally, when the virus came, our CDs expired, so to speak. We had to renew the time period, and we lost a lot of percentage. The new interest rates are almost 1.5% lower than what we had. So all the good work, so to speak, we did the previous year was denied this year, because when the stock market went south, naturally the interest rates are going bad too, and at that time we had to renew 3 more CDs, and it's if you're going to get 1% at the moment, you are lucky on your money, regardless how much money you're going to put in there. What I want to mention also is, and Mayor, if I'm not correct, please correct me. I believe you mentioned that the convenience fee for the credit card payments for the utilities is reestablished, but the penalties are still not collected.
That's correct. We are charging the convenience fee, but we will go through the end of June and not do any cutoffs or penalties.
Yeah. That's basically all what I have. Is I want to assure the residents that even with the virus, your local government still functions and is still providing the necessary service. And I think we all can see this specifically when we had the storm and our line crews went out and did the job, not asking if there is a virus or not. The electricity came back on, and I think we all can appreciate it. Also, what needs to be mentioned is even when some departments were closed, there was nobody was laid off, no city employee has lost its job. I think that's needs to be mentioned too. And I'm sure the employees, when they worked on specific and special assignments, they did a good job. I read the other day, Ewell Park, I don't know, Ewell Park didn't look as good as what I saw in the picture. When I came here, it was in 2002. So for the last 18 years, that's the best how Ewell Park looks. Mm-hmm. So that's all what I have, Mr. Mayor.
Well, Mr. Fleur, I appreciate that, and I appreciate you stealing a lot of my thunder. But I do have a few more things that I wanted to talk about. Mr. Fleur touched on the Ewell Park. Ewell Park has been neglected for quite some years, but let me tell you what, and we didn't lay any employees off out at the recreation complex, So we utilize them, and they have painted all the office at the recreation complex itself. They've painted all of our concession stands and cleaned them. All of this remodeling that we've done and improvements to Ewell Park, and you need to drive by out there and look, it's been done with our recreation employees. They have done an amazing job. So if y'all see them, congratulate them on the hard work and dedication. Not anybody complained. They all had a good time, and I was at Ewell Park a lot. The signage has come in for Ewell Park. It's going to have new signage on it. It's going to have some new landscaping, new gutters. They've done an amazing job from the basketball goes to paint and everything, so it's something that we can be proud of. The residents of District A, as well as all the citizens of Minden can be proud of Ewell Park once again. The line crews, Mr. Fleur talked about the line crews. We had major storm damage. The line crews worked tirelessly. We had to call other companies in to help us get the trees out of the road and off power lines. We had other line crews come in. They did an amazing job, and we appreciate our line crews. Let me tell you, when we have a storm or when you have electricity, we encourage you to call the steam plant, to call 377-2144. What we've experienced this past weekend is when the electricity was off out around the steam plant itself, and because our phone system out there is Suddenlink, it just rang and rang and rang and rang and rang, and it wasn't that we weren't there, we just didn't know it was ringing because the power was out. So what we did today is we corrected that problem. We now have Suddenlink as our major source there, but when Suddenlink goes out because of power outage, now AT&T is there, so it rolls over to AT&T, so we shouldn't have that problem again. We found out there was a problem, so we corrected it. So I hope everybody will know that moving forward. And I've touched on the employees at the recreation complex and the line crews, but all of our departments, we're all a family down here, and when we have a problem, the street department comes out, they get on the job, everybody does what they have to do. So we are very blessed with the employees we have and the spirit that everybody goes out and does their job. It doesn't matter if it's the line crew or the street crew or the water and sewage or the power plant or even the police department. Everybody, or the marshal's office, everybody does a good job for us. On the sales tax, I hope they don't think I'm going to talk as long as you did. So, but on the sales tax, what I saw everybody, as we went out and looked at different businesses as they were open, what people are trending to do is they found out that they can get exactly what they need in our city. They don't have to go to Shreveport and Bossier. So all of our, whether it's a home do-it center or you need lumber, or whether it's a garden center or a feed store or a clothing store, they found what they needed here in town. So I think by this COVID-19 virus, I think that is going to help shop local because people can see what they can buy here. On my far right over here, your left, I've got Philip Smarter, economic developer, and I think he's going to give you some surprising news as some other things that have happened during the COVID-19.
Okay.
Surprise.
Yeah, surprise. We haven't really had any businesses call in and ask about land or businesses, but here recently, in the last week or so, we started making some more contacts. People are coming back to work, so now someone's answering the phone. We're not just getting voicemails. We've had some people looking into getting some land around here to make some investments and develop some houses. So that's exciting news. We also had 3 businesses open up here in Minden as well this week and the last week. So things are still rolling, and it seems like Minden's been on pause, and now it's time to press play and get back to things. So we're excited about that.
Thank you, Philip. Mr. Beard, City Councilman, District D.
I don't have a whole lot to say. I don't have anything to say. I do want to mention, as you went through and shared with some of the things that we need to take care of business-wise, one of the items, it's really disappointing, especially for those folks that live on, that we discussed it back, I think, in January, February. Those streets, is it Pine, Horton, and Fincher? that we're trying to get fixed. We're trying to fix those streets. And those aren't in my district. They're not in your district, Ms. Block. I mean, so I just want you residents on those streets to know, we want to get those overlaid. And that's on our agenda to get those taken care of, but we can't do that.
Well,
You know?
we've got the bid in, and
Yeah.
in fact, the bid came in low. Is that right, Mr. Fleur?
Correct.
It came in
Yeah,
low.
I thought so.
So we're ready to do the overlays, but when we have a council meeting to get it
Yeah.
approved, we'll get those streets overlaid in those districts.
Well, that's what I wanted to say. I hate that for those residents and others around the city that are looking to have some repairs done and things that we need to do, we can't do. And so, I think there was a comment made that you could actually do your job and not come to meetings. I think that, I heard that comment was made. And as far as a council person, that maybe I could just stay home and not have to come to meetings and still be able to be a good council person. Obviously not. As you shared tonight, there are a lot of things that we need to get done. Fortunately, the city doesn't stop, as Mr. Fleur has shared with us tonight, thank goodness. So, but anyway, I did want to share that because you didn't mention that when that was one of the last things on our agenda, and that those folks have probably wondered what happened with that overlay project, and it's sitting there, ready to go.
Thank you, Mr. Beard. Ms. Bloxham, City
Yes.
Councilwoman, District E.
I want to elaborate on what Keith said. We have 3 bids that need to be awarded. We also have, we need to adopt that resolution ordering a special election to elect a council representative from District A. Now, that's the election by the people in District A. That's not the appointment from the governor. That's the election. I want to elaborate a little bit more on this. Without that special election being called, then it's not going to make the November ballot. District A could go without representation until the end of this year, calendar year, with the way that we seem to be progressing. The city councilmen from B and C are preventing Council A from having representation. So I have a suggestion, a recommendation to the mayor. We were very successful last Wednesday in avoiding the loss of $30,000 grant for the airport because we did get our 4 councilmen together to vote on that one issue. So Mayor, would you consider maybe calling a meeting on June the 3rd or June the 10th with only these items on the agenda? Adopting the resolution ordering a special election to elect a council representative for District A. That has to be submitted to Baton Rouge by June the 17th. And if we get that, then those who want to qualify, and that being Mr. Wayne Edwards, Mr. Larry Gibson, or anybody else in Council District A, anybody else would be able to file on the regular dates of July the 15th, 16th, and 17th in order to make the November 3rd election. So would you consider doing that so that perhaps that the other 2 councilmen can understand the urgency and that they can be a little bit considerate of those who live in District A?
I think that's an excellent plan. What do you think about it, Mr. Beard?
Sure, what the heck, may as well. Take a shot, like you said, it's gonna cost us as a city $10,000-15,000 unneeded dollars to have a special election later on if we don't piggyback and get on this November election.
And that's
So-
going to be in either December or January.
Right.
So we really need to act to get on this November 3rd ballot. Time is of the essence.
So what about a date next week?
That's fine.
June the 3rd, June the 10th, both being Wednesdays.
That's this week, right?
3rd is this week, 10th is next week.
Do we have time to get it on June 3rd? Okay, so why don't we call a special session for June the 3rd to try to get that done so we can save the city about $15,000 and maybe get a couple things approved?
And then take into consideration those in District A who are going without representation right now.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I would recommend that you also add the airport grant.
Okay.
Yeah, I had those 3
Okay.
bids.
Okay,
were
so-
on there.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and put the airport grant on there as well. And maybe with that, they'll come to approve that. That works? Okay.
Good, thank you.
Okay, and also, I'd like to remind everybody that we still need to fill out the census. We need the census filled out, so you can go online and do that, or I don't know if they're coming back to your door yet or not. I would probably think not, but, try to get that filled out, because that's important to our parish as far as our representation that we have. Okay, and last but not least, I would like to congratulate Jimbo Yoakum as our new city attorney with the retirement of Mr. Charles Benefield. And Jimbo, we all look forward to working with you. And do you have anything you'd like to say?
I would just like to encourage people to pray for your community, the people in your community, as well as your community leaders with everything going on. We need each other. We need each other. Whether you like one another or not, we need each other. And so just pray for one another and try and work through differences to be able to find the greater good for everybody. I look forward to working with each and one of you, and if you need anything, just let me know.
Thank you, Jimbo. With that, there's no meeting, but see you later.